Shawn Layden. If you guys don't know who Shawn Layden is, he's the ex PlayStation CEO, right? He was before Jim Ryan. Okay, so Shawn Layden here in this article from gamesindustry.biz. Shawn Layden, the games industry needs to show some patience, and the industry veteran shares his views and current state of video game business. Now, the Tencent advisor, former PlayStation boss Shawn Layden, has criticized the games industry for lack of patience during this period of widespread layoffs. Layden comments came during an open podcast of GI Sprint, which is also a new series of videos, podcasts, and articles about the subject of making video games cheaper, faster, and better. The full podcast goes live later today. The current industry situation, which has seen tens of thousands of redundancies across the business, has been caused by slow growth and rapidly rising costs. And Layden says a side effect has been impatience from game companies when it comes to new ideas and concepts. He says, quote, "That's the real frustration thing when you see people say, look here, small studio that made a great game. This is a true promise." And it created an entirely new gaming experience, but it was also, we don't have the patience to play this thing out into 2 parts or part 3, he began. Now, obviously, I'm assuming he's shooting the shot across the bow of Xbox because of Hi-Fi Rush. Okay. Now, again, he's an ex-CEO of a company. I am not. But for us, for him, for anyone to know what the situation was and why they did what they did, we don't. We could take shots and say why they did, but we don't know the actual facts. Okay. It says, quote, "Even though they didn't really get wiped out by it, they didn't have a windfall profits. They didn't have a windfall profits that expected it, and so it killed this thing to go more established triple IP. Sequels, copycats, and things that, from financial perspective, you can draw through a through line and say it's that built into this game is likely perform like in this market. When you bring completely new things that people not have seen before, which is fantastic and quite often are, the publishing industry doesn't have the patience now to nurture things like this, and it feels that it needs the quick big win." And it's a terrible place to be in the entertainment creative industry. I've talked about this a little bit. When you bring a new IP in and it doesn't sell well, that's basically, think of yourself as a gamer when you're playing a game and they kind of like waste your time. You go on these quests and you get all this information and you get all this this loot and you build up your character and your levels and all this stuff, and all of a sudden the developer says, "Hey, we're getting rid of that. We're nerfing that." You're like, "Well, what the fuck? You respect my time." When a new company comes in with an IP, they're building that game up and they want their time respected. But the industry, the gaming industry, was like, well, this new IP didn't do very well and we don't want to give it the time, so we're just going to cut its legs out. Okay. And this is exactly why we get remasters, remakes, they take sequels, they do all this stuff. This is the same thing that happens in the music industry when an artist comes out with music and they want to do something artsy. They're like, no, you can't do that. You got to make another album like the last one. Right? A movie comes out and they're like, oh, well, this is a good movie. This is a sequel. You're not going to make sequel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Fast and Furious. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they do. They just keep making sequels because they know that IP is the hot ticket. So we're going to ride it until it's dead. Okay? And that is the problem with the industry compared to developers and developers compared to us, the gamers. Okay, so Layden says ultimately the new ideas that will be what gets the industry, particularly the AAA console industry, out of its current predicament is not established brands and franchises. And I agree. I think the indie developers are the ones. But at the same time, you can't take a game like, Immortals of Aveum, right? Immortals of Aveum was a way too high ticket price game to come out to then try to make that a brand new IP. It just didn't work out. They didn't put enough money behind it or in it or give it enough time to grow to bring up and make that game a thing, okay? So you got to make smaller games. You got to make smaller franchises, and this is why game companies are going towards the hero shooter, because it doesn't take 3 years of development time and high-end cost, right? They can make something sort of like a play test of a thing and then put it out there and see if it sticks for a little bit, right? And it doesn't take them 3 to 5 years to invest and to get into that, okay? So if people have already had the interest or not interested in the experience, building more of those experiences will not get them in. It seems pretty dumb to me, right? So it continues, how does the entertainment industry continue to grow and expand and reach new people? And to my mind, though, the innovation and through bringing out new kinds of games. So, okay, you don't like first-person shooters? and you don't like RPGs, here's something else. Here's a rhythm action gaming piece, and it's all about the music, bright colors, and having a good time. Where's the space for those games? And how do they continue to provide outreach of getting new people involved in an interactive entertainment world? He's definitely talking about Hi-Fi Rush. Okay, now the problem with this is Hi-Fi Rush was a game that they put out on Game Pass, on Xbox, and I played it. I bought it. I really liked the game. I thought it was fantastic. But at the same time, it just didn't appeal, right? This is the thing I don't understand about entertainment in the movies, in music, in books, in gaming. When a problem happens, we are the linchpin, okay? Customers are the linchpin if a game succeeds or dies. It has nothing to do once it leaves the hands of the developers. The developers make a game, sell a game, and then it comes to us. If they do their job correctly, that game will come out and it will sell, right? It'll be like, this is a good game. I want to buy it. People were not interested in it. Even though Hi-Fi Rush was a fantastic game, loved the game, the visuals, the gameplay, all that stuff, it's a niche game. A lot of people don't want to do the rhythm stuff, okay? They don't want to do that type of stuff, right? It's like asking someone else to do another niche type of game and go, oh, well, it didn't sell well. Well, if it didn't sell well, that's your fault. You took a risk. You took a risk, just like anyone else takes a risk about opening up a business and putting a bakery in an area that's got 3 other bakeries and your bakery doesn't make it, right? How do you stick out from the rest? How do you build up your business? How do you build up your brand above the rest to survive? Okay. He adds that patience works both ways too. Game companies need to show patience when nurturing new ideas, but also patient when reaching to what's going on in the market. Citing the industry's overexcitement during a lockdown years. Okay. He says, quote, when we saw the times of artificial growth during the pandemic, I would have expected more companies to recognize this in a very limited time party people, he tells us. Make hay while the sun shines, but don't make huge investments against what you think is never-ending 20% growth rate year after year, because this is not going to continue. But people not excited to get into the moment, they didn't want to miss the opportunity, so they'll bulk up. And none of this is known. None of us knew how long the pandemic was going to last or lockdown was going to last. So I guess you make an investment to try to jump the potential of way to be longer than it turned out to be. But it's a huge gamble. They're betting that that it also doesn't happen if you're stuck out of the position of a huge labor load. Here's the thing. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's what the pandemic was supposed to be. Now, obviously, when it was longer than 2 weeks, they did double down. They were like, well, wait a minute. How long are we going to stay inside? How long are people going to play these video games? Did you see the Nintendo Switch? How many people bought the Nintendo Switch? Did you see how good Animal Crossing was doing? You can kind of see it now, because how many games did we see at the Nintendo Direct yesterday and also through the Summer Game Fest? How many farming games did we see? Okay. Well, gee, when did Animal Crossing come out? When was it successful? How many years after that? And all of a sudden we're seeing all these store games, farming games, and all these other things because they think because that sold well because of the time it was in, all of a sudden all these other games are going to sell well. That's just not what's going to happen, right? But businesses doesn't care. Right? Business invests and pumps out stuff as fast as possible because they don't care if it's good. They don't care if you like it. They just care to see how much money can this make. Can I make quick money? Can I make long-term money? What can I find? Let's see. Let's throw pasta at the wall and see what sticks. Okay. He continues. It's human nature, right? That you're at the craps table and someone's got a hot hand and they're running the table. You just want to jump in at that train and get that piece before it goes. Exactly right. Exactly right. This is why the patience is the thing that's important. The industry is losing patience. We also need to find a way to solve the problem in 6 months in the industry where nothing gets done in 6 months. That's correct, right? It takes 3 to 5 years to make a video game in this space now for AA, AAA games. Independent companies, they take that long as well. Why? Because they only have like 5 to 10 people working on a video game, right? So how do you get a game out faster, right? We have another article and he talks about maybe how it could happen. Okay, how do you do it? How do you get a game that can't get out faster? I know. You put it out there in alpha. You put it out there in beta. You put it out there in preview program. You put it out there as a game that we're fixing. It's a live service game where you don't have to put 3 to 5 years into the making of it. You can just put a 12 to 18 months in, put it out there, and then update it and pretend it's a release game. Okay, so Layden says ultimately the smaller studios and companies who suffer the most, who have been also acquired during the period of excess with the promise of creative freedom, only to find themselves having to cut back because of growth concerns and the parent company. He continues on by saying, quote, "They say we love the creatives and we're also going to let them do the things that they build in great games. And you're the experts on that, but you just want to help them realize your goal." He said that's fine and good, but the minute the money, things get a bit tight across the whole enterprise, all of a sudden the companies come back to all the other studios and say, we're in a tough spot and we're going to miss the profitability targets. So everybody got to take a haircut. Okay, Layden explains, and some of the smallest studios are going, why do we need to take a haircut? Right? You bought me for a little bit of money, give me some freedom to do the things that I do. I didn't tell you to spend the double-digit billions of dollars to buying other stuff, and which means all of a sudden we will be in the sacrifice lamb because you got to make the balance sheet work. Man, Layden's definitely going into Xbox here. He's not saying it by name, but he's definitely using Xbox as his points here. He says, if not true offer, when they say you're going to buy you and give you all of your autonomy, unless, of course, our other financial agencies force us to close you. And look, this is exactly why I've said in the past, I don't like consolidation. I don't like that someone owns other things, because this money is a pool of money that goes down to all of these companies. And if in movies, I always do the movie analogy because that's where I'm from. I'm from the movie industry. Okay, 10 movies are made from a studio, 7 movies will fail. Okay, the other 3 movies, money that they make, 2 that barely break even, and 1 that's a blockbuster, all that money goes back into the smaller productions to save their asses. So if a movie was close to profitability and this one made a shit ton of money, they can move that over there and keep that franchise alive because they think if it's gonna make it or not. Okay, if it's close enough. But these 3 make all this, but the rest of these movies, maybe 2 out of the other 7 maybe get saved because of this, but everything else gets thrown away. These 3 get sequels definitely, okay? And 2 other movies that were close, they might move over to the next thing because that's where the money is now, okay? That's what happens. Make a game, sell a game. Write a book, sell a book. Make a movie, sell a movie. And this is what we're talking about, right? Not everything is going to be a blockbuster. Not everything is going to be a bestseller. So how do you do this in the video game industry? How do you get the space where these companies can make games? You're seeing it. They're already doing it. They're doing the live service games. They're doing the alphas and the betas and the preview programs. That's what's happening here. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think of Shawn Layden saying the game industry needs to slow and have some patience? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and if you like what I do here, please make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching.